Understanding patterns. Many reactions in life can feel automatic, almost as though something inside us reacts before we even have time to think. A certain tone of voice, a stressful situation, a feeling of rejection, criticism, disappointment, and suddenly an emotional reaction appears, often so quickly that we barely notice it happening. But most patterns do not appear instantly. They are formed gradually over time, through repeated experiences, emotional memory, survival responses, conditioning, and habit. Over time, these repeated reactions can begin to feel like personality, like, this is just who I am. But many of these behaviors are actually learned patterns. Patterns that have simply been repeated enough times to feel automatic. This is important to understand, because what has been learned can also be observed and gradually transformed. One of the greatest shifts begins the moment we stop identifying completely with every thought and emotional reaction. Instead of immediately becoming the reaction, we begin observing it, not with judgment, not with shame, but with awareness. This is where real inner work begins. Because many people try to change themselves through force, suppressing emotions, resisting thoughts, criticizing themselves, trying to fix themselves. But self-judgment often strengthens the very patterns we are trying to move beyond. Awareness works differently. Awareness creates space. And within that space, something powerful becomes possible. Choice. The space between stimulus and response begins expanding. Where once there was automatic reaction, there can now be observation, breathing, presence, a different response. This does not happen overnight, and it does not require perfection. Even noticing a pattern clearly for a few seconds is already meaningful progress. For example, perhaps someone speaks to you disrespectfully. The old pattern may be instant anger, defensiveness, shutting down emotionally. But now, instead of reacting immediately, you pause. You notice the tension in your body. You notice the emotional charge rising. You observe the thoughts appearing. And in that brief moment of awareness, something changes. You are no longer completely unconscious within the pattern. This is how transformation begins. Not through force, but through awareness, repeated consistently over time. The goal is not to become emotionless. The goal is not suppression. The goal is awareness. To gradually become less unconsciously driven by reactions, and more intentional in how we move through life. So today, simply observe, notice one repeated emotional pattern. Not to fix it immediately, not to analyze it endlessly. Just notice it clearly, because awareness itself begins the shift.